Well, good morning, everybody. Let me offer my own words of welcome on this very special day and to this very special place, our beautiful Kodak Hall at Eastman Theater. I think today is truly special because we get to celebrate the accomplishments of all of you. And I think commencement is that time, one of those opportunities when we're able to celebrate the end of one journey and recognize that it's simply the beginning of the next. It's a series of journeys that make up our careers and indeed our lives. And I'd like to follow a bit on President Seligman's comments and talk a moment about the idea of career. I've been thinking about it quite a bit over the last few weeks. In fact, there are two things I've been thinking a lot about. One is a career in music. Partly it's because we've come to the end of the semester, and as I've met many of you, my question is often, what's next? Where are you heading? What are your plans? What are your goals? And the other thing that I've been thinking about quite a bit is, it's sailing, actually. I love to sail, and part of the reason I'm looking forward to it is the weather is warmer, the days are longer, you're all gone, so there are fewer, easier evening commitments. And I've actually come to believe there's a real parallel between sailing and a career in music. So I remember very clearly being a doctoral student at the Eastman School of Music and thinking I knew exactly where my career was going to go and how I was going to get there. I actually thought it would be get this job and then this job and this job. It would be very linear. So I like to think of this as sort of the powerboat series of a career, a very direct line. On a powerboat, really, if your engines are working and you have enough gas, you just point the boat to where you want to go and you will get there in a straight line. What I learned many years ago is that a career in music is much more like sailing, because rarely in sailing do you get to go where you're heading in a direct line. When the wind is coming from that direction, and that's when sailing is really fun, you actually have to head this way, and then this way, and this way, always making forward progress, but rarely directly. So I think there are some parallels that I want to think about in terms of your own career and sailing. The first is you have to plan your journey. If nothing else, you have to have an idea of where you're going. When I head out of the river, I know I'm either going to head toward the bay or I'm going to head toward Russell Station. I'm either heading east or west. I have some general idea if I don't know exactly where I'm going. Now, some of you may already know what your aspirations are. You may desire to sing at the Met, or perhaps you hope to be a principal player in the San Francisco Phil, or maybe a film composer, or maybe have your own indie band, or be a composer in residence, maybe be a professor or a dean. All these things are possible. They are all yours. But you at least should have an idea of which things do I want to head toward. The second thing is you have to, I would tell you I have sailing goals as well. There are things I want to do, like I want to go sailing today. But you actually have to start where you are. So you are not going to make it into the Met tomorrow. You have to start with where you are. I'm not going sailing today because my boat's not uncovered yet. I need to uncover it and scrape it and sand it and paint it and get it ready. So you need to start where you are and figure out how you're going to get there. So the second thing is you do have to chart your course. Now that you have an idea of where you're going, you do have to think about how am I going to get there. So as I said, the only time you're going to go in a direct line on a sailboat is when you're going with the wind, when the wind is at your back. It's smooth sailing. It's like riding a bike downhill. It's actually wonderful. It's not always actually all that much fun. It can be boring. It's a lot more fun when you're actually heading into the wind and you could feel the elements, you could feel the wind, and you could feel the water, and you could feel the pressure on the tiller. It's very exciting then. As you embark on your careers, you have to recognize that you can't head to your final direction, but you have to think about what opportunities will get me there. Perhaps it's going on to graduate school next. Perhaps it's going to be taking a job that's not your ideal job, but it will move you along the way. Perhaps it's going to be taking a job outside of music, but one that will help pay the bills and allow you to continue to study and to take auditions and to move on to the next level. The trick in this idea of tacking, which is what we're calling this in sailing, is knowing when to come about. That's what you do when you change course. You come about. Well, how do I know when? So the next thing has to do with making these decisions. When you're sailing, you actually have to have some skills. You have to understand the science of sailing. You have to understand how to position sails to get to a certain direction. Unlike a motorboat, not that the skills don't matter. I have some friends on stage who I know are wonderful power boaters. But really, you can get started by knowing how to steer and knowing if I put the throttle forward, it goes that way. If I put the throttle back, I'm going backwards. But you have to have skills. The same thing in music. You have to have real skills and you have to rely on them. The second thing you need to think about is what feeds the decision-making process. So in sailing, you need to know wind direction, wind speed. Is there a current? What's the depth of the water? There are a lot of things you need to think about when you think, do I come about now or should I wait an hour and come about later? What are the decisions that you have to make? And how do you know? One of the ways you know is the fact that you have skills. You are trained. You are prepared. Have confidence in that. You have mentors and teachers who have been there before who can advise. You have others who have already gone on the trail that you want to head, and so you seek their advice. So you're going to have to rely on these things together. You also have to know the current conditions and be able to predict the future conditions. In sailing, I need to know, again, is the wind going to hold steady or is it going to change? Is there a storm coming or am I going to lose the wind? So you need to be attuned to what's happening in the music world. So as you make decisions, you're making informed decisions about where you're going. So now you've got this need to make decisions. The question is, when should you stay the course, and when should you become flexible and change course? It's good to have a plan. It is good to know where you want to head. But the funny thing about careers and life is that life happens. I have met so many people in my life who would tell you the career they have today is not the career they anticipated. But things happen along the way. They realize, I'm really good at this thing that I didn't even know before, or I love this thing in a way that I wasn't aware. I happen to live in a place I never anticipated and love it. Or I've met my life partner, and I realize that I need to modify my objectives and blend them with my partner's objectives. So things change along the way. The key is, when you make these decisions about, again, if I'm going to head this way, that's fine, as long as I know I have to tack at some point and go this way. And you have to determine when and how. The question is it the right decision? Is this the one? And I would tell you that as your careers evolve, those decisions will get harder and harder, because at some point you're going to be in a very comfortable position, in a very comfortable career, and the decision will be, do I give that up to do something that might be a risk, something that is unknown? How will I know what the right decision is? I would tell you there is no right or wrong decision. All you can do is learn all that you can about the opportunities ahead of you. What are the pros and cons of that versus what are the opportunities if I stay where I am? What will that look like? You then make a decision, and once you make it, your responsibility is to make it a good decision. There is no looking back and saying, I wish I had stayed the other way. You make that decision, you come about, you stay on that course, and you make it right. So my last comparison to sailing is this, and that is enjoy the journey. Again, I think when you're going on a trip on a powerboat, the goal is the destination. It is getting there as fast as I can. But in sailing, it's the journey that matters as much as getting there. I have no idea where your careers are headed, but I am not worried for a moment about any one of you. You are graduating as extremely well-trained musicians, and you have learned much more than simply how to play an instrument or compose fascinating music or to be inquisitive scholars. You have learned how to think critically. You've learned how to express yourself in music, in writing, and in word. You've learned what it takes to achieve true excellence, and I would tell you very few people in the world ever obtain that experience. You have learned that being a musician is a lifelong pursuit of practice and growth, And you have learned that the music world, like all living things, is constantly changing, and that your responsibility is to continue to grow and change and adapt with it. Like generations of Eastman students who have come before you, I am confident that you are going to go into this world and make a difference. Be like the sailor. Recognize that it's the journey and the quality of the journey that matters as much as reaching the destination. And my hope for each of you is that you will enjoy beautiful journeys and that you will all have extremely and deep, meaningful lives in music. Thank you.
A production of the University of Rochester. Please visit us online and subscribe to our channel for more videos.